I'd like to open it up for questions from the fellows. All people who are not fellows, sorry, you got to keep your mouth shut. Okay. But I also want to say what Secretary Clinton has always said to me about Linda. And she said, Allida, she's sweet as she can be, she's tough as iron, and always remember when we didn't know how to deal with the Taliban, the first person the United States sent to negotiate with the Taliban is this woman right here.
I forgot about that.
She tells me that every day. So, okay.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. My name is Mohammed Kunta, once again from Sierra Leone. I am inspired and delighted by your statement. You made mention of something very important that struck me, that the UN needs reform. And I believe it's not just the UN. But
Sierra Leone is on the UN Security Council.
I know.
I was trying to remember.
I believe it's
and Algeria. Those are the three.
Yeah, I believe it's not just the UN that needs reform, but the African Union also needs reform.
Oh, yes.
I spent some time working with the African Union as well as ECOWAS. I think the regional economic body and the regional blocs, they need huge reform because there's a lot going on in Africa and most of these things are not documented and the reality is there. I have a question for you in brief. I want to know, because I work a lot on conflict resolution, mitigation, especially bringing young women in peace building. It has been very difficult from my experience over the years having young women around the table. How did you manage to mitigate all of these things? Thank you very much.
You know, sometimes women have to force themselves in the room. They have to force themselves on the table. And so I felt throughout my career that I had to kind of force my voice into the room. I fortunately had wonderful mentors. Secretary Clinton, when I left Liberia, I thought I was going to be ambassador in Ghana. It was a dream job. I wanted to go to Ghana. And she called me and said, I want you to be the Director General of the Foreign Service, over 70,000 people. And I'm like, I don't know anything about personnel. I don't know anything about management. I am not the right person for this job. But she knew I was the right person for the job. So having a cohort of people to support women's empowerment. President Clinton has an organization, a Center for Women's Political Empowerment, where she brings young women from across Africa to learn about leadership, how to promote themselves in political space, how to be decisive in political space. So we need organizations like that to help women. And sometimes you just got to bust the door open. That's what the Liberian women did during the Civil War. All the fighters were sitting around in a fancy hotel in Ghana and had no intention of coming to any agreement until the women surrounded the space and wouldn't let them out. And the rumor was they undressed. I didn't see that, but they undressed and they would not let these men out the room until they came to an agreement. So you have to be creative and you have to be bold to sometimes get a space at the table. I'm asked all the time, how does it feel to be a woman and a black woman at the UN? And I said, I'm not either. I'm the UN ambassador. I'm the United States ambassador to the United Nations. I'm not a black woman. I am not a woman in this job. I am your ambassador. Because that, when they talk about that, they're diminishing you. You know, you're this black woman in this job. How did you get it? And so I didn't acknowledge that. What I said to them is, I am the UN ambassador, period. And when I walk in the door as the UN ambassador. And that's all I want you to see. And so we have to empower women to take that kind of boldness and initiative when they get a seat at the table, and then insist that more women come in with them.
No. Men have asked all the questions. A woman has to answer in the back.
Oh, she has the microphone. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Linda, how do you continue to sustain the dreams that you built when there is political resistance, like in the current climate? How do you remain hopeful or remain working towards your dream when there's a funding crisis in the UN, when diversity and inclusivity work is being prioritized, when it feels like there's so much working against you systematically? How do you hold on to that victory?
So I did a TED Talk a few years ago, and I talked about the adversity that I had experienced in my entire life. You know, I grew up in a segregated community. I went to a segregated high school. Neither of my parents were formally educated. My mother was a maid. My father was a laborer. And so all of the cards were against me at that age. And what I said to everyone is that I learned to flex my muscles, to flex my adversity muscles. You wanted to know why I wear this cross. This cross is about flexing my adversity muscles. In April of 1994, I was in Rwanda during the genocide, and I nearly was killed. And I don't know, except that blessing may have blessed me, why I survived. April was my anniversary. And as I'm in this place with no hope of getting out, I'm thinking my anniversary is the 24th of April, and I'm never going to have another anniversary again. And I saw images of my body being taken off of a plane in a body bag. I mean, it was just horrific. So many people died. Well, I survived, and my husband gave me this as an anniversary present, and I never take it off. He doesn't even know why I value this so much, because I thought I would never have another anniversary. And it became a symbol when the war was happening in Ethiopia, and the president got mad at me. He's my friend now. But there was this whole thing, why is she wearing our cross? And I'm sitting in the UN and I'm being seen everywhere, all over the world, every single day. I'd go on CNN, I was on MSNBC, and everybody saw that I was wearing this cross. Back to your adversity muscle, I survived that genocide because I flexed my adversity muscles. What I said to the young man who was holding a gun in my face, I said to him, my name is Linda. And if you kill me, I don't want you to ever forget my name. And he didn't kill me. And so that was about being, and I asked him his name as well. I talked to him, I listened to him, and I flexed my muscle. That's what you need to do. Don't let what is happening around you get you down. Don't let it discourage you. Just find another path, another way to flex your muscles and find a path to get into what you want to achieve.
Well, I'm gonna,
There's another young lady there and one there.
okay, two women have the last two questions. I'm gonna stack the deck here a little bit. Okay.
It's been stacked against us so many times.
I know, I have no guilt about this whatsoever.
Thank you for the inspiring story. I would like to know your advice for we who are young ladies and leaders or directors who are often intimidated because our position when we are working with men in our society.
I'm not sure I got the question.
I want you to give us, please, an advice to face the intimidation we face often when we work with men in our societies. Sometimes And because our position, when we are leaders, director, in a high position.
Yeah, I don't know that I can give you advice for Africa. I'll give you the advice that I used. Don't buy into their intimidation. That's their problem. People used to ask me, how do you deal with racism? And I'm like, it's not my problem. It is the problem of the person who's racist, because they have to figure out how to deal with me. But if I make it my problem, it blocks me. It stops me from moving on. I'm afraid. So I never would allow other people's intimidation, other people's sexism or racism to embed itself in me. I wanted to always be who I was and continue to make sure that they understood that I made a difference and they couldn't do their work without me. And eventually they come around. They come around to appreciating you, and that's what has happened in my life, that eventually people have come around to understand that I have something to contribute that has nothing to do with my race or sex.
The other woman in the back, who I can't see.
I think there was someone over here.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Liberia, okay.
Thank you so much for the inspiring stories. But I'm thinking you talked a lot about flexing your adversary muscle and stuff like that. But I think that you have to reach to a certain point where you're comfortable to be able to be bold enough to stand up against all of these different challenges that we face. And then when you talk about not caring about race, not being a woman or stuff like that, because when we talk about intersectionality, people are affected on different levels and based on, like as women, we have different ways that we are challenged. Not because we are all women, doesn't mean we have the same challenges, right? So my question is, how do you come to that point where you're able to stand up and be bold enough to speak up against these things? Because especially for Africa, where we come from, there's a lot of limits. People try to put a limit to what you can do as a woman. Like there's a certain level you cannot go above. People see you as being, you want to be arrogant, you want to be this kind of person. So they always try to make you humble, like you can't do this. You're not supposed to go above this. So how can you be able to like have a balance between standing up and not coming across as being arrogant? Because if a man is taking his position, we don't see it as being arrogant.
No.
We see like, oh, he's a leader. He's good at what he does. But if a woman does the same thing, like she's arrogant, she's an arrogant woman. Like, so how can you come to that place where you're able to have a balance between being bold and also being humble, like we always want to be with you?
And I know it's different in Africa. The culture in Africa is extraordinarily aggressive. And even women to women, the culture will hold you back. But even here in the United States, that happens as well. And I'm not saying you should ignore race or ignore sex. Just don't let it become embedded in you that it stops you from accomplishing what you need to accomplish. So one of my aunts, who's since passed away, when I started working on a PhD, she said, you need to stop. No man will marry you. No man wants to marry an educated woman. And she was educated. She was a school teacher. Her husband was a school teacher. But she thought if I'd been a teacher, she would have been fine. But she thought I was going too far and that I would never get married. And I said, I don't really care. I'm not looking for a husband. I found one, or he found me. But again, people will put pressure on you to be what they think you ought to be. And what I'm saying to you is don't let that pressure stop you from trying. You may not succeed. And I saw it happen many times on the continent of Africa, particularly as it relates to women. But don't not succeed because you stop trying. So just keep trying. And sometimes women ask me how I balance raising a family and having a professional career. I have 2 children, I have 3 grandchildren, and a husband. I never felt that I needed to balance because there's no such thing as balance. And people kind of get shocked when I tell them that. You cannot balance your family against your job. You have to prioritize and reprioritize. And there were times, and if you got somebody to help you, it's even better. And in Africa, you tend to have family members who will help you. You know, you're going to have a cousin or somebody who will help you with your children. We didn't have that here in the United States. But I never felt that, I felt guilty for a few years because I tried to achieve balance. But I suddenly realized that there was no such thing. You prioritize. And sometimes my kids were a lower priority than what I had to do in my job, and sometimes my kids were a higher priority than what I had to do in my job. So it's kind of a balancing act, but it's not equilibrium. And you should never even try to achieve that. Look for someone who can help. When my daughter was born, my husband went to Nigeria with her when she was 6 months old, and I stayed back in the States for 2 months. And when I got to Nigeria, she didn't even know who I was. It was the most horrific feeling of a lifetime. But eventually she knew who I was. But I had to make a decision. The job I had in Nigeria didn't start for 2 months, and the job that he had started, and we decided it would be easier for him to take care of the baby in Nigeria with a live-in nanny who cost half the cost of what it would cost for me to take the baby to a daycare center during the day and pick her up. So I agreed. My mother never forgot that. She thought I was a horrible woman that I sent my baby to Africa without me. She is fine. So for women, I do encourage you to pursue your careers and pursue your personal lives, and it will all come out in the wash.
Last question from me, okay? Personal privilege. Soon we are going to have a new Secretary General in the United Nations. Without tipping my hand, who I really want this to be, do you think in my lifetime that we will see a woman be Secretary General of the UN?
Absolutely. It's going to happen the next time around.
Yes!
It has to happen. None of us know who that person will be. The rules say it has to be someone from Western Hemisphere, so I throw my name in the hat. I'm joking.
I campaigned for you, Linda.
I'm joking. Yeah. But that's what the rules say. But the last time around, the rules said it should be someone from Eastern Europe, and we chose a Western European. We chose Guterres, who is from Portugal. The names I have heard are Rebecca Greenspan, is she Brazilian? Yeah. And Grossi, who's a man, and Mia Motley. And Mia Motley is my candidate.
Okay. Well, I hear Michelle Bachelet.
That name I've heard as well, but she's not from Western Hemisphere.
I don't care. Never underestimate Michelle Bachelet.
I know. She ran the last time.
Yeah.
And didn't make it. Truthfully, it should be a woman. It will be a woman. And may the best woman win.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I just want to say, you know, these are dastardly times, and I have never, ever, ever been in a room with Linda Thomas-Greenfield where I did not feel brave and loved and stubborn and bold. And I just adore you.
Thank you. Thank you. YALI fellows, I am jealous of you I wish I could have been a Mandela Washington Fellow here at this university, getting the exposure and the experiences that you're getting. So you're going to be much better than me in life because you got this and I didn't get the opportunity to have this.